Hello, welcome to the studios of Citi TV. If you're listening to me via radio, you're on Citi 97.3 FM. My name is Vivian Kailoko. I'll be the host for today's dialogue. Now, in 2017, the Water Resources Commission warned that 60% of our water bodies here in Ghana were polluted. They attributed this pollution to activities of illegal miners. Secondly, the Ghana Water Company Limited has also warned it may be forced to import water soon if the activities of illegal miners are not stopped soon. Key water bodies like the Pratt River, the Ankobra River, as well as the Brim River, we're told, are all polluted now as we speak, mainly because of the activities of illegal miners. Now, health authorities as well as environmentalists have warned the health impact on our lives with regards to illegal mining in our water bodies. Now, today, these developments, coupled with others, have forced us to hold this crucial dialogue to look at the way forward in dealing with these matters. Welcome to the Citi Galamsey dialogue. We're hoping that by the end of this dialogue, we will force authorities to take decisive decisions to deal with the issue of illegal mining, especially on the issue of our water security as a country. My name is Vivian Kailoko. I hope I'll be a great host for you. So this is how the program will go. We'll start with some crucial presentations by some of our panel members, after which we'll have a discussion, and of course we'll take your questions and comments. You can join this discussion on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook. All you need to do is to add the hashtag #BanGalamseyNow when you send us a comment or a question. Either way, I will announce a phone line where you can send us a WhatsApp or a message. But I want to give you an idea of how bad the situation is with regards to our water bodies. I'm going to show you 3 key videos which gives us an idea of the situation in some parts of the country. Let me take you first to the Western region. Our reporter there has been to the Ghana Water Company's plant, and it gives us an idea of how bad the situation is.
River Pra is today the main source of raw water that is treated by the Ghana Water Company's water treatment plant here in Daboase in the Wassa East District of the Western region. But unfortunately, this is the state of water that is treated by the plant. And according to engineers over here, whenever the turbidity of the water is that bad, it also affects the efficiency of the pump. And for that matter, its ability to actually pump enough water into the plant for processing. We will be going inside the pumping room to actually see the states of the pumping machines and how they work. You could be seeing that it is very far below. And this is the states of the kind of water that the company has to actually treat for the general masses consumption. So now I've actually moved inside the Daboase water treatment plant proper, where we have 2 main settling tanks. The one actually on my right, I'm told, is supposed to, under normal circumstances, have about 3 million gallons of water. And this one on my left side is supposed to also have 3 million gallons of water. Inside here at the dividing chamber, I'm told this is where from the intake the raw water actually came into the plant. And over here, the water is actually mixed with alum before it moves straight into the settling tanks. And this very settling tanks has 2 chambers. You see the primary settling tank over there looks very dirty. It goes through some kind of processing before it comes to the secondary chamber where the water actually settles. And then you see that there's a serious contrast between the state of the water from the primary chamber and the second chamber. So after touring the plant, we have come to the chemistry lab to actually see what actually goes through in terms of, the processes that the water that is taken, and I mean the raw water, goes through before it becomes, water that is close to something that we can consume. And over here at the lab, as you can see, we've been told that this very water in this glass is the raw water that came from the intake, and several chemicals is actually added throughout this series before we get something that is close to what can actually be considered water to be consumed.
The demand for water is between 15 and 20 million gallons of water a day. Sometimes I produce 2 million. As I told you, 2 million in a day. And sometimes the water doesn't produce at all, nothing comes out. Because of Galamsey illegal mining activities upstream the Pra River, there is so much silt accumulation at the intake. This silt deposit makes it very difficult for at least some amount of water to come to the intake. So instead of seeing water there, you rather be seeing silt. And instead of our pumps abstracting water, instead of drawing water to the plant, it ends up taking silt, sand, into the plant. So this makes it very difficult for us to be able to get adequate quantities of water to abstract. Ghana Water Company, we ourselves cannot stop Galamsey.
So that's short from the water from the Pra River, the Dabuase plant of the Ghana Water Company Limited in the western region. So residents of Takoradi in trouble. They may not be getting good, clean, potable water soon if we don't deal with that. Now, don't think it's just a western region problem. Let me take you to the central region. Have a watch.
This is the Citi treatment plant of the Ghana Water Company Limited, which lies between the western and central regions and supplies water to over 50 communities, including Infantiman, KEEA, and part of Cape Coast North and South in the central region. The plant was established in 2008 by then-President John Ejekum Kufuor as part of efforts to supply potable water to communities in the region. Authorities say the negative effect of illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, is having an effect on their operations as equipments that have a lifespan of 30 years have been replaced. They say silt buildup at the intake point has pushed them to, on a monthly basis, go into the intake sump to manually desilt it to make water accessible at the intake point for onward action. The company fears if care is not taken, the country might import water for consumption.
We are losing most of our equipment in no time. Equipment that has a life cycle of 30 years. Now, about less than 10 years, we are losing them and we have to replace them. And currently, we have even secured another batch of pumps that we want to replace with the current ones that we are using.
Communities within the Citi enclave have resorted to the drinking of sachet water since the Pra River they drink from is contaminated. Others also depend on dugout wells for survival. Farmers also lament the lack of water to water their crops as they are contaminated. Ebusuapenyini of Citi State, Nana Rekwampem, laments the difficulties in fighting this menace. According to him, traditional authorities have on several occasions received death threats from Galamseyers.
I can't lie that there's nothing of that sort here. There are Galamseyers here. But I could remember the chief has been always bringing men here, you see, security men, to keep down the menace. But unfortunately, you see, they go away and then come back. So we, the authorities, are trying to do everything right to get the water clean. But the little that we can do.
The Ghana Water Company Limited says it has been forced to pilot a new coagulant as a result of the current nature of water, which comes at a huge cost to the company.
We have just piloted more powerful coagulants as a result of the current nature of the raw water, called polyelectrolyte, that can remove the turbidity and the color better than the alum. And that one, the cost per kilogram is about 4.
So those are sights and sounds from the central region. Now, if you have been following the news for some time now, or you live in the central region, parts of the central region, as well as the western region, you realize every now and then there's some acute shortage of water. I've got news for you. This is one of the main reasons why you're experiencing those shortages. Now, it's not just to do with drinking of water. Remember that smallholder farmers across the country usually rely on water bodies to take care of the watering part of farming on their farms. Now, in the Ashanti region, for example, the threat for smallholder farmers in getting water to take care of their farms is real. Let me take you to this next report, which is coming from the Ashanti region, where farmers have to rely on sachet water to get their plants to grow. Remember, the price of sachet water has now gone up. How will they deal with that? But have a watch.
10 years, 48-year-old Bandim Anani has been working on this land where he cultivates pepper and okra. Anani connects a water hose from a section of the River Ofin just behind his residence to his 3-acre farm, which is meters away. But the destruction of the water source by illegal miners is posing a danger to his farming business.
Ofina near the Ajuma. Since you started, me back room, I'm 27 years, 28 years. Ofina ni ya kuraje nwa near the Ajuma na, but America crab in be 2 years, 3 years ni asasa. Oh, you bet come once makaka you huni kusi.
Other farmers in this community share a similar sentiment. Farmers do not only use water from the Ofin River for irrigation, but also drinking. Andrews Bandim says they now carry sachet water to their farms because drinking the polluted water source is impossible.
From last year, Ebano. And I'm saying Galani Ofin and ni said yes, I said what they didn't. And why any yes, Edma crack. As I say, is here a mobile phone me, some who are such as water. And I'm dear bet to one and no milk any freezer. I'm resenting and get Tiano crown or Fina.
The River Ofin spans major farming communities in districts of the Ashanti region. The activities of illegal miners have affected the color and turbidity of the water source. Assembly member for the Bedabo electoral area, Alex Nsia, tells Citi News illegal miners are not relenting despite efforts to stop them.
Ya tu wana mo atu se na kwa fo no mo kanwa o kan kwa fo no ma se so krusu e be hye de mo a o ko anko o be ya o be pam o be ko ana mo adi su kwa be tu afa ho wa hanya asam ketwa nso wo ye ya okko ade wono wonte okko ya na o ma sa ba.
The farmers and other community members want the government to step in.
Farmers in this community rely on this water source for irrigation purpose. The nature of the river has changed because of the destruction caused to it by activities of illegal miners. The farmers are not happy and they want an urgent government intervention. Hafiz Tijani, Citi News, Abompe, Ashanti region.
So those are also sights and sounds from the Ashanti region. The Ofin River polluted, Ankobra polluted, Pra polluted, Brim polluted. Okay, let's go to the eastern region. Let's see the situation there.
Bensu and River Brim take their source from the Etiwa forest and flow through several towns and villages. Over the years, community members along the banks and where the rivers flow solely depended on them for drinking, cooking, and other house chores. It was the only source for farmers to water their crops and other farm produce, but in the last few years, these once clear and clean rivers have become excessively muddy due to Galamsey. Now farmers resort to sachet water and carry water in gallons to their farms to drink and also use for spraying their farm produce. Even though some residents of Bunsu claim there is no active Galamsey activity in the area, The brim, which flows through the town, is very muddy. The situation, they allege, is as a result of active illegal mining ongoing in Chibi and its environs.
Hano, Mimi Hun say, Enya Galamsey, a Yibina, or mining as well. By Yan Kroma Heno, there was one movie and Galamsey. In the hand, the Yan Galamsey, Nesiapa, for a land, the Honomy Galamsey, by Fabusu, Assassin's for the Galamsey. And so they say, so they free actually however, if you
drivers operating in these areas who previously depended on the river brim Akresu to wash their vehicles are also disturbed by the current state of the rivers. I caught up with these drivers at Bunsu station.
Papa. So I say yes when you say was rain swear that you are first by a Saturday car and you activity. So about crown, I just have watching the good things go. Not just so we are behind the proposition, so you say, our young so cries out here. And so a criminal come on any activity. When I'm crown overeating to a Sabio Gumu, and say overeating to Krayo.
The drivers are not the only ones affected by this, but innocent farmers are also feeling the heat as a result of the activities of illegal miners. For residents of Achim Himan and its environs in the Fantiakwa South District, an imminent danger looms as the prices of foodstuffs go up. Over the years, they stood firm to resist any form of mining in their community, but it seems they have given up now. Here is the assemblyman for the area, Johnson Appiah.
That is very true. We tried all possible best to resist mining because we know mining, when you allow mining to enter your community, whether it being responsible or irresponsible, definitely you get some bad lot. That is those who engage in irresponsible mining. So we saw that and we decided not to allow these mining activities into the community. But unfortunately, like we say, if somebody is beating you and you want to report to an authority, where the same authority has ordered for your harassment or your beating, your all that you do goes nothing. It doesn't yield any result.
For Citi News, Neoni Amati Kanaku, Bunsu.
So that's the issue with the eastern region, and from the 4 videos I've brought to you from the various regions, it is obvious that our water security is indeed under threat. Now, let me give you more details of the issues that are confronting us as we speak. And I'm going to have 3 gentlemen give you 3 critical presentations which will touch on the various aspects of our water security, our water resources, among others. Now, the first will be done by Dr. Bob Alpha, who is the Director of Planning from the Water Resources Commission. He will be looking at protecting and preserving Ghana's water resources. Now, let me give you an idea of who Dr. Bob Alpha is. He's actually a professional geoscientist, a water resources engineer, and he has a PhD in numerical modeling. Over 16 years of practical experience in the management and development of natural resources in the context of sustainable development. Now, he coordinated the development and implementation of integrated water resources management plans at both river basin and national levels, applying the principles of strategic environmental assessment, as well as incorporating impacts of climate change on the management and development of natural resources. Let's welcome Dr. Bob Alpha, Director of Planning at the Water Resources Commission, who will have his presentation on protecting and preserving Ghana's water resources. Doctor. Please join me here.
Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to the Citi Galamsey dialogue. Now, we know that you are the custodian, as in the commission, in terms of our water bodies. In 2017, your outfit warned us that 60% of our water bodies were polluted. And I'm thinking, if by 2017, 60% of our water bodies were polluted. In 2022, where we've seen an increase in the activities of illegal mining, I'm wondering what the percentage will be. I'm sure it's now 95 or even worse.
Yeah, thank you very much. And first of all, let me thank Citi for providing this platform. You know, this is a very important issue to discuss. And the Water Resources Commission is grateful for this opportunity. So I will come to your question, but let me give a little bit background to what the Water Resources Commission is mandated to do. First of all, in 2016, the Water Resources Commission was established by an Act of Parliament to regulate and manage the water resources of the country. Okay. And specifically, we are supposed to conserve and protect, and that is where the issue is. We are unable to protect the water resources, clearly, as you can see from the videos that are played. And we are also supposed to allocate water resources for all uses in Ghana. We are also mandated to manage the extreme events, you know, relative to water, droughts, and then floods. That is the number 2 mandate of the Commission. And we are supposed to coordinate all government policies relative to water resources. And another important factor is to coordinate transboundary, you know, activities, all transboundary activities related to water resources. If you are aware, Ghana receives about 30% of our water resources, you know, from outside the country. And that component is very key for the development of Ghana. So we play a transboundary role. Now let me give you an overview of the sources of water, and then we can come to the percentages as far as, you know, the pollution is concerned.
Okay, so Doc, hold on. The discussion has taken off, yes, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite all the other speakers, so we take it from there. So let me quickly introduce another person who will be joining us along the line. That's Professor Chris Gordon, an environmental scientist. He has special interest in the biodiversity and function of coastal, wetland, and freshwater systems, and many years of experience as a limnologist and aquatic resource management advisor. Please help me to welcome Professor Chris Gordon.
I'll sit over here.
Yes, please. Let's also welcome Dr. Adjoa Yerinchi-Fianko. She's a senior lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. She holds a PhD in civil and environmental engineering from the University of Western Ontario, Canada, has an MSc distinction in project management and a BSc first-class honors in building technology from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana. Dr. Yerinchi-Fianko. Let's also welcome Moses Abeku-Pencil. He's a Regional Water Quality Assurance Manager for the Ghana Water Company Limited in the Eastern Region. He was appointed to that position in 2009. He's still holding that position. He has an MSc, Water Supply and Environmental Sanitation from the KNUST, with area of specialization being water quality management and water treatment. Mr. Moses Abeku-Pencil, please join us here. And let me say, as we go, we'll be joined by Engineer Dr. Clifford Brymer via Zoom as we go along. So, Doc, please, let's go.
Yes, so just to go back, I was trying to give a picture of what the mandate of the Water Resources Commission is. We are the body responsible for conserving and protecting Ghana's water resources. And clearly what we showed on the video, you can see there is a lack of protection of our water bodies. But I will give you an overview of what the sources of our water resources are, and then we can delve into some of the problems that we encounter. So next.
Okay. So we'll take a quick break. You're watching, if you're watching us via TV, you're watching the Citi Galamsey dialogue. If you're listening to us via radio, you're on Citi 97.3 FM. We're set to start the discussions. We'll start with 2 presentations, and then we'll go to the discussion proper. We'll, of course, take your comments and your questions as well. If you join us via Twitter or Facebook, remember to add the hashtag #BanGalamseyNow. Better still, you can send a message via WhatsApp or a text message. We'll announce the phone line soon. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Look, I have with me Moses Abeku-Pencil, who is the Regional Water Quality Assurance Manager of the Ghana Water Company Limited. I also have here Professor Chris Gordon, an environmental toxicologist. Prof, this your toxicologist is a mouthful, isn't it? Well, we also have Mr. Bob Alpha, who is with the Water Resources Commission. And then we also have with us Dr. Ajwa Yirinchi-Fianko. We're looking at the country's water security, threats to our water security because of the activities of illegal mining. Now, Doc was on the floor trying to explain to us the role of the Water Resources Commission, and then we'll take it from there. So, Doc, take it.
Okay, so to proceed from the role, I wanted to give the overview of Ghana's water resources.
Yes, please.
And the basis of where we are coming from. We may think that Ghana is endowed with water resources, but the figures are different, especially in the face of climate change. We have per capita for everybody in this country is 1,700. Okay. What it means is that Ghana is a vulnerable state when it comes to water resources. Okay. We are not water-stressed country, but we are vulnerable because of the issues of...
We've always been vulnerable. The climate change and the illegal mining has made us vulnerable.
Yes, we have not even come to the quality.
Okay.
This is just what is available in terms of the volumes.
Okay.
So if we come to the quality, then we become a water-stressed country.
Okay.
So I'm building a point from the fact that what nature has given us, we are already vulnerable.
Okay.
Because the per capita is 1,700 per person per year.
Okay.
Then we move further to even how we develop our water resources. To be able to develop as a country, water is the source of every developmental agenda.
Yeah.
Economic growth, they say, is a testy business. You have to use water to be able to grow. Ghana, unfortunately, we have not developed our water resources. Even compared to sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana has developed only 100 cubic meter per person. What it means is that Ghana is already importing a lot of water resources. Okay. I hear all the time that if we don't take time, we would be importing water resources.
You're saying we're already doing that?
We are already importing water resources.
And how long have we been importing water?
We have been importing water resources for so long, and I will explain why. The sub-Saharan average is 175. Whatever we consume is produced by water. Okay. And if you don't develop your water resources in your country, and then you import some countries' products, what you are importing is what they have developed as far as their water resources is concerned, especially for food products. We import rice, we import drinks.
Oil, almost everything.
Almost everything. And this investment has been done by other countries. Water is central to the production of those commodities. So once we import that, we are already importing water. Virtually, I believe normally when people say we'll be importing water, they are looking at the physical importation of water. But Ghana has been importing water for so long, and we have the resource available in our country, and we have not developed it.
What is the challenge in developing the resource?
It's investment. First of all, we do not even invest much in protecting our water resources. And we will come to the Galamsey is one example of that. We do not manage our water resources. Apart from the investment for hydropower, if you look at irrigation, the level of investment for water resources is very low. Okay. Drinking water, of course, we still do not have 100% coverage. But drinking water is one of the lowest points because how much water do we drink? The biggest demand for water is agriculture, it's industry. And that is what we have failed to do over the years. And every single item that we import to this country, we are importing water, we are importing labor. So we are actually employing people outside this country. And then we have people in this country who are not working. And the fundamental is developing your water resources. Because that is the only way you can project issues of industry, agriculture, and all the other forms of water uses. That's right. So just to put that in terms of the availability, and then we can zero into the issue of Galamsey. I mean, you've already played quite a lot of videos. The picture is very clear, but just to add that what we see is just the physical state. We haven't looked at the chemical pollution yet, the health implications. And I'm happy we have Prof here to talk about that. So I will limit myself to just...
Yes. So what I'll do is, I'm not going to interrupt you. I'll allow you to quickly go through your presentation, and then when we get to the discussion part, I'll ask further questions. Exactly. So quickly do yours, and then Prof.
So as far as the quality is concerned, let me give examples of what we will expect to have in terms of turbidity. When it comes to mining impacts on water resources, there are two elements we are looking at. They are turbidity and the chemical usage by the miners that pollutes water resources. So starting from the turbidity, under normal circumstances, we should have our turbidity levels below 50 NTU. That is a unit for measuring turbidity. If you go to the western part now, Ankobra, Pra, Brim, and Bier rivers, we have turbidities going as high as 1,600.
1,600.
Yeah, the limit should be 50.
50.
If you get to 100, that is your worst case scenario. We are now running at 1,600. And most of the machines, that were imported to Ghana to treat water, for domestic consumptions, were not designed to treat water with turbidity levels more than 100 or 200. And that is why probably Ghana Water Company will come in. There are times they will have to shut down the operations, or if they continue, then they will have to lose some of their equipment, and the maintenance cost is too much. So the chemical part is even worse. They use mercury to, extract gold. And we have done some studies that show that we have quite a lot of mercury content in fishes in the water. We also have that in the soil. We have that in edible plants. And the limits are way beyond the WHO limits. The health implications of that may not be short-term, but the long-term implications, I will allow Prof to come in and talk about that. But these are studies that we have done to show that the level of mercury in water is beyond the acceptable limits. And not only water, it affects soil, it affects our food production, and it also affects the fish. Then to come to the aquatic ecosystem, sometimes we don't talk too much about that because as human beings, we are fighting for our own survival. But the ecosystem is very vital for the survival of human beings. And normally when you have water polluted to that level, you have the dissolved oxygen levels of the water dropping. And when you don't have oxygen in the water, then the lives in the water disappear. There are graphs I wanted to show, but you can see the levels of our dissolved oxygen is gone very low. We may not be able to recover from that because then certain species will disappear from Ghana.
Wow.
Yeah, because they cannot survive under such conditions. And the situation is dire. is a challenge not only for the future, but even for the present population. And we will have to do something. I like the hashtag, do something today, but I think we should have done something yesterday. But
better late than never.
Yeah,
better late than never. Thank you very much, Doc. This is a sad situation. It's a very gloomy picture you've painted. And from what you've said, I'm sure Prof, so by the time it's done, I'll start cheering up. So, because Prof is going to look at the effects of water pollution on our survival. And from what you're saying, we're already seeing species in our waters leaving or dying. Yeah. We're seeing mercury, all those harmful chemicals in our food, which is finding its way in our markets. Yeah. I was speaking to Doc earlier, and she was talking about some research that was done, and there were traces of chemicals in our foods in the market. So, Prof, please let us land gently, but let's hear what you say.
Well, thank you very much, and I thank Citi for inviting us to talk on this matter, and in fact, continuing this dialogue that I believe you started 4 or 5 years ago.
In 2017.
2017, yeah. And well, I also have a presentation, but I don't know if it'll be able to be projected, but I'll just give some highlights so we can have more time for discussion.
Okay, we can't actually do it, so you can go with
okay, so because okay, so we have to look at the basics first of all. As has been said, there's no life without water. You said I should let you land gently. There's no substitute for water. So unlike if you don't like yam, you can eat cassava. If you don't want to take water, maybe beer, but it has its own effects.
I still need the water.
There's also the fact that, showing the last slide.
So if you can have the last slide.
Yes, so if you could go to the next slide, please. Yeah.
Okay.
So the other thing is that water is a teleconnector between locations and systems. They say that somebody is always downstream of somebody else. Water and land issues cannot be separated. You have to include, when you're talking about water, you need to talk about land. Yeah. Now, I won't go into, the next slide, please. I won't go into the fine detail of how we look at water. But you can say there's a non-living part, the abiotic part, which is the surface water and the groundwater. So surface water, you're looking at the rivers, streams, the sort of things that the Water Resource Commission has control over, and the sort of things that the Ghana Water Company draws its water from to give us our potable water, not portable, potable, water for the pot.
Okay.
But we also have the biotic component, which has been touched upon again by Bob Alpha here. The fact that all the things that live in water all have a place. And if we disturb the ecosystem and we lose those items, then we're going down that path that you mentioned. So basically, everything is connected to water. And I'll just illustrate using the next slide that you have a nexus between pollution, Galamsey, and water, which leads to changes in the geomorphology, i.e. the state of the land being changed by use of excavators and bulldozers. That causes changes in the hydrology. So you have diversion of water courses and rivers. That leads to changes in the limnology, i.e. the physical chemistry of the water, which then results in changes in the ecology. That is the type of habitat and the organisms that exist in the water. Now, Galamsey also adds contaminants in the form of mercury, in the form of other chemicals, and that changes the water by effectively poisoning the water as well as the land. And that impacts the sociology, i.e. how the lives of the people in the communities play out. And this has a special focus on the women and children, because they are the people who have to go and find good water in these communities. The children sometimes drop out of school. And once you have children who are not in school, that impacts the economy because you're not looking at how much they're spending. You mentioned the cost of sachet water now. Yeah. And given that people drink about four to five, yeah. And unfortunately with the increase in heat and climate change, they will be drinking more, producing more plastic, more draw on the household income. But then it also means that the youth are out of school. So effectively what Galamsey is doing is we are mortgaging our future, because it is the youth of the future who should be looking after us. But they will not be able to do that because all they know how to do is to do Galamsey. And Galamsey is something that is going to end. Now the next slide shows some of the changes that you have. The photograph you see on the side, unfortunately the radio cannot see this, but it's a very green water body from the eastern region. It's taken by some community members as part of a project we have on Photo Voice, where we are letting people in the communities tell us what they see when they talk about Galamsey. But you have the increase in floods, loss of life and property, destruction of infrastructure, financial loss. You have a change from running water to stagnant water. So you create habitat for pests and vectors of disease. You have the risk of actual drowning. The number of people we hear who lose their life from falling into the pits and drowning is far less than the reality. Because some of the people are never found. They went to the bush, we didn't see them again. Then you have this very important aspect of the increase in suspended solids, the muddy water that you see. So you have the increase in cost of water treatment. The gentleman in your video said the new coagulant they're using is 4 times the cost. Now if Ghana Water Company decided to increase from 6.035 per cubic meter to 24.25 per cubic meter, there'll be uproar in the country. You see, then we talked about something we don't talk about. All that mud in the water is actually Ghana's land being washed to the sea. So you're losing hectares and hectares on a daily basis of Ghana's land going to the sea. And unfortunately also, much of that is the highly productive topsoil, which is needed for agriculture. All of this is going. Then you have the increase in mineralization, how much of the chemicals are dissolved in the water. So if I drink water from Weja, I immediately know it's Weja water because I'm used to water from Pong, which has a very low level of mineralization. So we go to the next slide, which is actually looking at some of the issues of what is in the water. Now, unfortunately, the screen is cutting off what is in red, but I'll read it out. But you have mercury and lead. These are heavy metals. These heavy metals have direct impact. And the photograph on the side is actually from a Citi newsroom article from 2019, where it says mercury in your mouth, which is talking about how mercury is going from the Galamseyers to the mouth. Now, these cause some problems. Loss of brain function, infertility in women, sterility in men, and birth defects. This is something that was highlighted recently by some people who have seen things in the mining areas. So the question that I was asked, what is the effect of water pollution on our survival? And I'm saying that water pollution impacts every aspect. So water security, that is the access, the availability and affordability. It impacts environmental health and biodiversity. It has impact on our agriculture, therefore on our nutrition and our food security. And of course, if you don't eat well, your health is at risk. Then you have impact on poverty, livelihoods, and jobs. When the land is destroyed, there's nothing you can do on it. And the final thing is that because they're clearing the forest, it has impact on climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. So my takeaway points, my closing remarks. I think Galamsey is a mental problem. It's a mental problem. It's a mindset problem that you think you can steal today and still eat your cake tomorrow. I think that, if you could go to the next slide, that we have to appreciate to fix and restore is always more expensive than to spoil. Spoiling takes an instant.
Yeah.
Those of you who are in married or relationships, you slap your spouse. I'm not recommending this. It takes a second to do that action, but I'm telling you, you pay for it for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So it is better not to spoil it in the first place. My third point is that a full-time problem like Galamsey cannot be solved by part-time responses. My apologies to an artist who had full-time Christian, part-time devil, I've forgotten, but my apologies to the gentleman. But full-time, we cannot do this stop and go. It has to be concerted. And the last point is very important. There's no substitute for data. If we do want to have a lasting solution, we need to have solid evidence-based policies. So in the lab that was shown in the Ghana Water Company video, what they do is every day they have to do an assessment of sediment load, because that is what will determine how much chemical they need to add. But if it wasn't the case, they could average over that, oh, we know that we can add this amount. That's another additional cost. But to know the amount, you have to carry out the research. And we are not carrying out the research because our research departments, our academia are underfunded. We haven't even gone to the issue of what they call novel entities. These are new products as a result of a cocktail of chemicals from Galamsey, different soil types, and so forth, which we cannot go to Brazil or UK to find the answer. We have to discover it here. So to let you down lightly, if Citi FM or Citi TV has some fund for funeral expenses, start contributing.
Wow. The death is on its way.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Reminds me of Mr. the kneeling economist yesterday we saw begging for things to be done right. So we should start saving for the West to happen. Okay, you didn't let me down nicely like you promised.
I was being very gentle to you. I could have said something else, but it's okay.
But we'll come to that. I'm sure you eventually say that. But let's come to the Ghana Water Company Limited, because you ended up sort of with them in mind on having to invest more in what they do. We all know the prices of utility. We know what you were hoping to get at the time you went to PURC, and the agitations and the uproar even at the end in what you got. And now from what we're seeing, you even need more to get us the water we need. You have been warning us from, I think, last year on the fact that we may be importing. Doc says we are already importing, so we should prepare for the West. What is your presentation? Quickly yours, and then we'll do Doc, and then we go into the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, Vivian. I also want to thank the Citi family for this platform to speak about the impact of the Galamsey on the operations of Ghana Water Company Limited as a whole. In fact, Ghana Water Company, we are a user unit. Per the water sector reforms that took place, we do not really manage the resource. We also depend on Water Resources Commission to do the effective management, and then we only abstract the water, monitor its quality, and then take it through the due treatment processes and ensure that before we send the water out to the drinking populace, it meets the required standards for drinking water. Now, we can start the presentation.
Yes, please. Okay. That's not it.
This is rather
if we
for
can
the
quickly
WRC.
have, this is from the Water Resource Commission. If we can have that from the Ghana Water Company Limited. If not, you can go with your memory if you can, and let's just go quickly.
Okay. So I have a map that shows all our systems that are challenged with the Galamsey menace. If you look at it carefully, you would see that we have systems in Ashanti region. If you look at Ashanti region, we have the Konongo and then Odaso. When you come to Eastern region, you would see that we have systems like Akimoda treatment plant. We have the Osino water treatment plant. We also have the Bunsu water treatment plant. We used to have one water treatment plant on the Birim source water called Enyinem, but the state of the water was too bad such that our equipment could not really handle it. So we had to completely abandon that source water. But for the others, we are managing them. Then from the Eastern region, you move to Western region. Western region, you see our system at Dabuasi, which you saw the videos. And then when you come to the Central region, our system at Secherehiman also takes its source from the Pra. But if you look at it in totality, the map you are seeing, I wish I can see the map again. So let's take it. You see that a lot of these systems that we are talking about are actually found in the Pra River Basin.
Okay.
And they are all affected by the Galamsey issue. So you ask yourself, what is it about the Pra? What is it about it that is making people do a lot of Galamsey in it? When I was transferred to Eastern region to go and work, from my interactions with some of the illegal miners, what they said is that the riverbed in itself is rich in gold and diamonds.
Okay, the Pra River.
Yes, and even the Birim, because the Birim is a tributary, so the Birim joins the Pra, and the confluence point is at Akimodan.
Okay.
So it is very rich in diamonds and then gold. And it is emphatic to know that the closer they mine to the banks of the river, the more they get the gold. So they were very much interested in diverting the course, mining directly under the bed of the river, etc., and doing all sorts of things to the Birim River as a whole. Meanwhile, it is a very major asset that gives us water, and the biggest treatment plant that we have in Eastern region is sited on the Birim River. Let's move on to the next slide as I explain. So this is this picture is talking about Chebi. These are our intake at Chebi. It also depends on the Birim River. Next slide. Then this is Birim at Bunsu.
Okay.
Bunsu, where they said they are not doing Galamsey.
And this is what we have. Okay.
That's right. The next slide. This is Birim River at Osino. Next slide. Still at Osino. But there's something interesting about Osino. Yes. I want to speak to this particular drone image that we took just this year. So you look at Osino and what is happening. It was interesting to note that about a month or two ago, when the minister came round for site visits on what is happening, we saw that they have a shed over there. And on the shed they had written, "We were born to be Galamseyers."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is what is happening.
So this is from that side, where they were born to be Galamseyers.
Where they are born to be Galamseyers. And nothing can change their behavior. Look, we can talk about the casualties that are there. And you can imagine treating this kind of water. The water has been diverted in so many ways, making it very difficult for us as a company to operate. Next slide, please. Then this is the Birim at Akimoda Headworks, where we have a system on it. This particular system actually serves water to the whole of Akimoda and takes water to Akwetia and then Kede.
Okay. Next slide.
So in Ashanti region, this is Odasu headworks and how the water is looking like.
From all the pictures, whilst we are waiting for the next slide, I'm tempted to ask you whether you get any clean water anywhere at all.
It's difficult.
So we've gotten to the point where it's the chocolates.
Yes, it's very difficult. And so for us to operate in Eastern region especially, there are lots of times that we actually don't run the system. We shut down, make sure that the water has cleared, and then we are accessing a cleaner or a much cleaner water before we are able to put our plants into operation. And there's been various times that we've had to suspend operations at some of our systems for even more than a year. One continuous year. It happened in Kibi or Chebi. It has happened at Bunsu. For close to 2 years, we're not operating.
So we'll see a lot of acute water shortages in those areas. And even with that current challenge, we still have people who say they were born to be Galamseyers.
Excellent.
And they get their water, those who go to the fields to mine, from where? They drink that muddy water or they buy the sachet water?
They buy the sachet water, obviously.
Okay. And they're thinking that the sachet water is, we're getting it from where? Wow, this is a mental problem, Prof said. The Galamsey thing is indeed a mental problem. So is this the next slide?
This is Dabuasi. I think you have the picture already. Okay. Let's move on.
Okay, this is the next one.
Yeah, this is Setrahiman.
Okay.
So we can move on.
We can go to the next one. The next. Okay. You want us to go to the next?
No, I want to see so that I can speak to the issues.
Can you look this way? Yes.
Okay. All right. So in Setrahiman, the source water we said is Pra, and then these are the supply areas. The whole of Setrahiman sends water to Elmina, and then also augments the supply from Bremsu to serve the whole of Cape Coast. It has a production capacity of 30,000 cubic meter per day, which is 6.7 mgd, that's million gallons of water per day. But currently, because of Galamsey and other issues, we only do about 47% capacity utilization. And then the losses that we incur through the production process is about 10 to 20%. There are interesting figures for the color and turbidity over a period. This is we are using the base year of 2016 to current figures. And from Setrahiman, when the turbidity is beyond 1,800 NTU, the system cannot run. Currently, alum usage on the plant has actually doubled. And then you have the treatment costs also going up there by 50%. Next slide, please.
And your costs moving to, is that 93,000 per month? Coming from what figure?
From about 60,000.
So 60,000, you're now putting an extra of at least 30,000.
That's right.
For you to give us less water.
For us, yes.
Okay.
Then in Konongo, we have a plant that has been designed to do about 19,000 cubic meter of water per day. It also gets its source from River Enum, which is a tributary to the Pra Basin. And then currently, because of Galamsey issues, etc., we are only utilizing about 18.3% of that particular plant. And we have production losses of about 10%. We can see clearly that in 2016, the color of the water was about 80, 83 thereabouts. But now, it's beyond 1,000. It's 1,600, etc. Treatment cost there has now become about 10 times just compared to 2016 base year. Next slide, please. And this is Odasu, also another terrible situation over there. This plant supplies water to Obuasi and its environs. And then the plant is designed to do about 18,000 cubic meter of water a day. That's about 4 million gallons of water in a day. But currently we are using only about 22% of the capacity. And the process losses over there is about 48 to 50%. So it means that even for the less volumes that we abstract, we throw about 50% of the water away. And then the cost has also gone up so much. Next slide, because of time. Western region, this is Dabuasi. Dabuasi, we are also making do with 75% capacity utilization out of an installed capacity of about 27,000 cubic meter of water per day. You heard the PRO for Western region tell you emphatically that the demand for water in Western region, say, let's say Takoradi alone, is about between 15 million gallons of water a day to about 20. The plant can do 6 million gallons of water. Even if the plant is doing this, it means we have to ration that kind of water. But because of the issues with Galamsey, we are not able to even use this full capacity of the 27 cubic meter or the 6 million gallons of water. We've had to do about 75% capacity and then ration the water among the populace. Next slide, please. Okay. So in Eastern region, I spoke about the systems already that depend on Birim. And then at Akimoda, we have there about 8 million gallons of water treatment plant. But we are using only about 10 to 20% of the capacity at the moment. Production losses is between 10 to 40%. And if you look at our systems there that depend on the Birim River, you can see it clearly that at Osino, compared to the 2016 base year and now, we are doing 6 times the water treatment chemical requirements to get the water to become potable. At Bunsu, we are doing 3 times. At Kibi, we are doing 4 times the required water treatment chemical to be able to clear up the water for people to drink.
Okay, so an increase in your efforts, at least by 3 times in most of your plants across the country, and at least with what the figures you are given, if you can go through in the Western region, for example, how much extra you're adding to your cost in terms of cash in the Ashanti region and the Eastern region. I'm saying that for people to understand the amount of investments we are putting into these things that we shouldn't be doing. We could use it to do other things. So if you can go through the amount in costs cash-wise in all these plants that we're seeing the activities of Galamsey having an impact on, and the amount of effort extra that you're putting in these plants for us to get less water in our homes, in our households.
Yes, I have some of the figures, but I would mention some of them. Okay. Maybe the others would refer them for later. I can supply that information. So if we look at Secherehiman like this, we are using on a monthly basis 93,150 Ghana cedis every month to just treat the water, buy the treatment chemicals to treat it. Instead of we using, from the 2016 base year, we're using about 750,000 Ghana cedis. I have them on the slides. I wish I can speak to them. So
as we go along, we'll just refer to them.
Yeah. In Ashanti region like this, a place like Konongo. Konongo, in the year 2016, we're using about 8,000 a month to buy the treatment chemicals to treat the water. But now we are doing 79,540 Ghana cedis.
79,000 yes. From the 8,000, 10 times the cost.
Yes, 10 times the cost.
Wow. Okay, that's the Ashanti region, Konongo.
That's the Ashanti region, Konongo.
So our brothers and sisters in the Ashanti region, we are having to pay 10 times extra to clean your water for you, especially in the Konongo area. Okay.
Yes. Then Odasu, we are doing about, in 2016, we're using about 29,800 or 785 Ghana cedis to buy the treatment chemicals to treat the water. But in currently, 2022, we are doing 89,598 Ghana cedis.
That's also huge.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll come to how you're able to manage, because I know Ghana Water, you don't have money. So I'm wondering how you're surviving with that. But if you're done with your presentation, then we'll move to...
there are further slides. I don't know whether I can run through.
Okay, run through quickly. You have 2 minutes to run through quickly. Okay, I think we got here.
So this is the water quality index for the BRM systems. So you see that clearly, apart from Kibi, that the index looks good. For Osino, Bunsu, and then Akimoda, the BRM River is grossly polluted because it's beyond the 100 mark that we need to classify it. Next slide, please.
If we can have the next slide, please. Okay.
Yes, this is showing what is happening this year. So this year we recorded the worst case in May. Let's go on, please.
Okay.
Then in Eastern region, these are chemical costs for the bearing systems. I decided to put them together. So if you look at it, 2016 base year, we're using about 48,202 Ghana cedis thereabouts to handle water treatment in our systems that are dependent on the bearing. But let's use 2021, because 2022 we are not yet done with the year. As at 2021, we are using about 366,530 Ghana cedis to handle that. That's about 8 times the amount of money needed to get the treatment chemicals. I'm sure when we finish the year 2022, it will be more than that, because now the dollar rate has even increased, etc.
No, I stabilized the last week, so let's keep it there.
Okay. You've gone back.
I think this is the first slide.
This is the first slide. But
if we can go to the final slide. If not,
yeah, so these are some of the general effects that we are having on our operations. Poor water quality, increase in the use of treatment chemicals, production losses, high operations and maintenance costs, poor water abstraction volumes, heavy metal contamination, frequent shutdowns of this system. I've spoken about some of these ones. And then also we also have our equipment, like the pumps, designed to do about 15 to 30 years. But then we are not able to let them achieve the design life. Within 5 years, it's gone. Then some interventions that we are doing. Now, for us to be able to make sure that we are able to sustain our operations and supply water to the cherished customers or drinking populace, we've had to switch from the use of the traditional alum, which is cheap, to a more expensive treatment chemical known as the polyelectrolyte. At Cape Coast, they said their chemical that they are using, because it is piloted in every region. So Cape Coast are saying theirs is about 4 times. But when you come to the Birim, it's about 10 times the cost of the alum. And then what we are also doing is now for the designing of new treatment plants, we've had to put in a new infrastructure or a new facility, which we call the off-river reservoir. This particular off-river reservoir concept makes us to be able to store water, water, for about 3 months. So we have that retention time of 3 months, by which time the sediments or the settlable solids come down, and then we are able to abstract the supernatant and treat for the drinking populace. Then also for existing treatment plants, we've had to do some more interventions, because when you are seeing heavy metals in the water, you cannot let that kind of water go out there. So for our filter media, we've now using some specialized media to, add on to the filters so that they can help remove some of these heavy metals in the water. And then for some other areas, like you go to Eminem, which I cited, we've had to completely move away from that source water and then use the groundwater abstraction processes like boreholes, etc. Next slide, please. So these are some suggestions or some things that we Ghana Water felt that we can contribute to the discussions. I believe as time goes on, we'll speak about them.
Okay, so I can see you're asking for utility codes. Water supply plans must be undertaken to allow water systems and a number of things to be implemented. Doc just said, So we'll come to him at a point, because I'm sure as custodians of the water, he knows the challenges involved in getting the water to be wholesome and all that. But let me wrap up with Dr. Achua. She'll give us a 5-minute presentation quickly. Her case is interesting because she actually did a thesis titled Impact of Artisanal and Small-Scale Mining on Water Bodies and Treatment, a Case of Brim River Basin in Ghana. And I like her thesis because she came up with a solution to clearing our waters, which she's yet to give to authorities to take it from there. So, Dr. Achua, please go ahead with your presentation. Maybe you give me something that will make me a bit happy, because so far I'm so sad about what is happening. Doc.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Citi platform for giving me this opportunity to share the findings from the research that was carried out. I'm basically going to share information on the research that I did for my PhD work. Thankfully, my supervisor then, Professor Ernest Yanfo, he was also passionate about the Galamsey issue in Ghana. So we worked together to actually carry out this research. So we sought to achieve 3 objectives. The first one was to assess our policies in Ghana related to ASM, that's artisanal and small-scale mining and activities, and then determine whether these policies are being enforced well enough. And secondly, we also wanted to look at the impact of the artisanal and small-scale mining activities on water bodies, on the health of people, as well as their livelihoods. And then thirdly, we looked at how we can actually treat the water that had been contaminated. So the findings for the first objective, basically we realized that Ghana has, we do have a lot of good policies. Okay, we have a lot of good things on paper. Unfortunately, enforcement is a different issue. With that, basically we realized that for some of the regulatory bodies, the challenge was the fact that they were not well resourced. Okay, I remember I spoke to a gentleman who was supposed to monitor some rivers in a particular region, and he said that there were only 2 of them in their office in that district, and one had to stay in the office whilst one went out to monitor to make sure people were not mining illegally. Unfortunately, the miners are armed, so if one individual sets out to go out for monitoring, it becomes a danger to him. Okay, so those are some of the challenges.
It probably explains why the Water Resources Commission has seen the issue get to, what percentage is it now in terms of pollution of our water bodies? We know in 2017 it was 60%.
Yeah.
2020,
the entire southwestern system is now 100%.
100% polluted because issues of resources not available.
Yeah. So it's quite a big challenge. And then for the second objective, which was to look at the impact on the water bodies, we picked some samples from the Brim River. So we picked samples from the basin. So we picked samples from the river itself at various points. And then we picked samples from the boreholes and wells, that's groundwater. And we also picked samples from the mine pond itself. And then also from tributaries to the Brim. And it's interesting to know that we did find, and this research was carried out about a year after the ban was placed. Right? Remember, a ban was placed and then lifted somewhere in 2019. Yeah. So this was just around the time the ban was lifted. And unfortunately, we still found high concentrations of heavy metals, especially arsenic, lead, and iron in the water. And, for the communities, a number of them were not worried about contaminating the river because they felt that they could depend on the boreholes and the wells. But what they do not know is that the concentrations of heavy metals in the boreholes were actually even higher than that of the river for some of the samples. So, and that is because surface water is connected to groundwater. So if you pollute the surface water, you are basically polluting the groundwater. Yes. So it's important for those communities to also note that you can't say that you are dependent on groundwater and pollutant, because that was the kind of mindset we a number of people shared when we went there. And then in terms of livelihood, we also realized that a lot of farms had been also mined. Right, I had a picture of an orange plantation that had been mined, and we had the oranges ripe there. Okay, so in a case like that, if, for example, the farmer harvests the oranges, okay, we are actually going to consume contaminated oranges.
It will find its way to the market.
Yes.
So that's what we are consuming. Yes.
Yeah. So those are some of the challenges. And I remember one of the issues they also shared was that there was a farmer who said he didn't want to sell his farm, but unfortunately what happened was he found himself in the middle. All the farms around him had actually sold their land for mining, and he was stuck in the middle. So he had no choice.
Surrounded by Galamsey.
Yes. So he had no choice than to sell his as well. So, and especially at Apapim. Apapim is the closest town to Etiwa, the Etiwa forest, the first town. Unfortunately for them, a number of the young people there made it clear that they now understood some of the impacts. Then they didn't, but now they do understand. But then they are in a dilemma because they feel they have to survive. So, I think these issues are issues that really need to be looked at. So with the impact on farmland and livelihood, we realize that generally people believe that mining brings in some source of income for them and it helps them. But unfortunately, when they receive lump sums of money, within the shortest time, they squander everything and they are back to the same state. So these are some of the issues we identified. And then the third objective with the treatment, what we sought to do, because we identified mainly lead, arsenic and iron around that time, we decided to try to see how we could take it out of the water using local materials.
Okay.
So we focused on using moringa seeds, which are common, and then coconut husk and corn husk, which are waste materials. Okay. Now, interestingly, we realized that for lead, moringa, coconut husk, and corn husk were able to remove lead from water 100%.
Okay.
Right? Yes. And then for iron, for moringa seeds, we had almost about 99%, up to about 99% removal. For coconut, we had about up to 97%. And then for corn, we had up to about 88%. That's the removal for iron. But arsenic was generally around 70% removal, which is still effective.
Yes,
okay. And then moringa also serves as a coagulant. It's as effective, almost as effective as alum. Okay, so moringa is a very good, moringa seeds can actually be used to treat some of the water. We are looking at point of use treatment. So these are some of the findings we came up with. And
so moringa seeds, corn husk, as and well as coconut.
Yes.
From your tests, we can use them to clear our waters.
Yes.
But what about mercury, which is one that is used a lot? Do you have any solution to that?
For this particular research, we didn't try these materials on mercury. Okay. And that was because from the samples that were collected, although we found mercury in about 2 boreholes, generally we didn't find mercury. And I believe that was because there had been a ban over a period of 1 year. Right? Because we collected samples after the ban was removed, and we realized that concentrations had gone up again. Okay, so yes, for mercury, we didn't really test that in a lab, but I believe it's something we can actually do in later.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentations. I think they've revealed a lot to us, and it's given us a mental idea, a clear idea of where we are, the dangers of what we are doing to ourselves, and the need for us to take a decisive decision on what we want to do. We at Citi FM and Citi TV, we are saying #ban Galamsey now, as straightforward as that. In 2017, we started a discussion. It led to authorities taking some bit of action. After a while, we got back to square one. This time around, we're moving to the end point where we're ensuring that the right thing is done. Water security of the country is under threat, and everybody is being affected. You may think that you don't live in the Western region, the Ashanti region, or the Central region, but trust me, the food you're buying at the market can or may be contaminated, it will get to a point you wouldn't get water to drink. And we all know water is life. We're opening the conversation proper, taking questions and comments to understand better what the issues are. You can send us a question or a comment. You need to just add the hashtag #BanGalamsey now on Twitter or on Facebook. Or you can send us a message via this telephone line. 05505-85832. That's 05505-85832. And we'll take your question or your comment. So I want us to start with this. You know, all these people who are involved in Galamsey say the issue is unemployment, survival and all that. Now, if you speak to some stakeholders, they say this is going to be a difficult thing to stop because of where we've gotten to and how people have gotten involved in this illegal thing. Prof, is there any way that we can safely undertake a mining without us destroying our water bodies, without us washing the topsoil into the sea and all that?
I'll say yes. Ghana is not unique in this. Colombia had the same problem. Minerals Commission has guidelines for responsible mining. You see, we have to differentiate between what was Galamsey in the past and Galamsey as it is now. Galamsey in the past was a traditional, small scale, i.e. 1 or 2 people manually collecting Galamsey, gather and sell.
Gather and sell, right.
And that was a low impact. Then under the small scale mining laws, land of 10, 10 hectares, 25 acres is considered small scale, and concessions are given. But what happens is that you have people who join their concessions together, then sell the rights to mine to operators who are often foreigners, and they come in with machinery which before we didn't have, with this chamfan and excavators for mining. 10 years ago, we didn't have it. Yeah. I have samples from the Birim, from the Densu, the Ayensu, from 10, 20 years ago. The water is clear. This is a recent phenomenon brought on by greed. And yes, there are responsible ways of doing this, but it doesn't generate the quick money. See, everybody wants to be rich overnight.
Overnight. So the correct way, it will take a bit of time.
Yeah, and moving away from this greed mentality, that if I don't take it, somebody else will take it. Yeah. So I better take it now. And it's just going on, and in fact, it's due to my relationship with Citi that I'm even speaking on this. Because I said I'll stop talking about it.
You're fed up, you're tired, no, you can't give up on us.
We have been talking about this thing for 10 years. It's very simple. Yeah. It's like finding a rotten fish in your bedroom. You just follow your nose, you'll find it. You see the water is turbid. You follow the turbidity, it will take you to where the Galamsey is. It's not rocket science. The chiefs are involved. District chief executives, you can't say you didn't hear this excavator on you didn't hear it moving through your town. They don't use parachute to drop excavator on Galamsey sites. They buy diesel. So all of a sudden somebody is selling diesel. Instead of normally it gets 1 tanker load every 2 months, he's now doing 1 tanker load every week. Where is that going? You don't have to be a forensic scientist or this thing. It is clear. We have taken a blind eye to this for too long. And, you know, we talked about impact on health, sterility, beverage. The people are rich, the young men. But they don't have children. Because when they try to have children, instead of their sperm moving forward, they're swimming backwards.
He wants to go to the Galamsey side and see what's up there.
So what is this craziness?
Yeah.
You see, I don't know what it would take for us to wake up. I mean, sachet water is now 60 for one.
Yeah.
The Galamsey man says he can afford. So when it's 2 cedis for one, when it's 5 cedis for one, because that is where we are going. We need to wake up. And I'm glad Citi has raised this issue again the way it is raised. But our chiefs need to sit up. When they are selling the land, they are on you every day. When they are spoiling the land, they're quiet.
They say that the Galamseyers are armed. So they're afraid for their lives.
How many bullets do they have? Are we not willing to die small for our country?
Well, they may not want to take that bullet for the community.
No, but okay, you don't have to do anything. People are in the community. You just, like there's a chief who has banned, I've forgotten the name.
Yeah, Shafiri also area.
Yeah, and you see the water in his place. It's clean. All you have to say is, don't confront the Galamseyers. But that camp, nothing goes in, nothing comes out. No diesel will go there. No food will go there. No sachet water will go there. How long will they survive? We don't have to be confrontational on this. We can starve them out. Sorry, I don't want to be banned from going through certain regions or called to some chief's palace.
So we'll stay with the issue about rules and relations. From all we all know, the rules to guys in doing this and all that. Doc, your commission, one of your key, what is expected of you is to protect these water bodies. Yes. I mean, when this started on a small scale. Today you were saying that some parts polluted 100%. What are you doing to stop this from happening? Don't tell us it's a matter of resources challenge.
No, it is not. And honestly, the issue is very simple, like Prof said. We have to protect resources, and until we redefine what the problem is, it is no more Galamsey, like Prof indicated. This is environmental robbery, and we have to fashion our actions appropriately. We cannot be emotional, including issues of livelihoods. When we approach it from that point of view, that because it's livelihoods and there has to be dialogue and we have to have stakeholder consultations, then we have lost the case. We have to redefine the problem. And to be blank, this is environmental unrobust, and we will have to treat them as such. Nothing short of that we should forget today and the future, because these people are motivated. The kind of money they make from there, it's difficult to talk them out of the business. And for me, we have the national security, the security system in Ghana has to fight and then get rid of these people. It will take us a very long time, even if we're able to succeed today, to recover from the impact.
Have you had discussions with the national security, for example? Because you are the custodian.
Yes.
Have you had discussions with them, and what have they been saying? I mean, you are clear in your mind that we should forget about it being an issue of survival, because it will get to a point where we all cannot survive. That's one. Number two, we have to go outright and tackle the thing where we bring in the security. Is that the point you've gotten to, and what are they saying in dealing with that matter?
I think
frankly.
We got to that point so many years ago. Normally for regulators, you are like a watchman. Your job is to look over issues and then try to fend off those that you can. And then if the situation goes beyond, it is armed robbery, you have to call the police. That is what a watchman is supposed to do. We did that so many years ago. Unfortunately, for some reasons, there have been attempts by the state security agencies to stop Galamsey. We all know the history. But the inconsistent way that we have dealt with the issue is what actually has emboldened. There were so many people who thought, okay, if I go there, the security people will take me out. Then they suddenly realized that, look, they will stop you and then you'll come back anyway. So every time this activity is halted and then we release the, then we have more people joining because then it is free, for all. So the issue has nothing to do with regulations. It is not about the regulating agencies because we are not armed. Our job is to notify you to stop operating. And if you do not, we have to report you to the security agencies, which we have done for so many years. So it has to do with strict enforcement. And I think it is the security agencies that...
Yes, Prof. Prof, before you come in, let me say that we are been joined by the Managing Director of Ghana Water Company Limited via Zoom, Dr. Clifford Brymer. He'll join us in a bit. Right, Prof.
Yeah, what I'd like to add to the debate is that many of the people operating these areas are not indigents. Yeah. We have people operating in Ghana in the illegal mining, I won't call it small scale, coming from as far as Congo, Burkina Faso, Mali, Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin. They're all operating in Ghana. Yeah. I won't even go to the Chinese angle of it. Doing things in Ghana that their own countries would not tolerate for even 5 seconds. Yeah. So my question is, how dare they? Yeah. And how dare our organizations who are charged to maintain the integrity and sovereignty of Ghana, how dare they allow such things to happen? It is totally incorrect. And as you said, you don't want to go into a certain line, but I'm also trying to control my...
No, now where it's gotten to feel free.
My anger.
Your anger, yes.
You see, so before he comes, I'll just go to one point. The nation's strongest capital is not its land, it's its people. Because it's the people which will make a nation survive or not. Switzerland, no resources. Singapore, no resources. It is the people which changed it. Now you have an activity that is going on in Ghana where, due to exposure to mercury, lead, and you have methyl mercury, which is in the atmosphere. So as we are sitting here in this studio, we are breathing air, some of which came from Western region. We are inhaling it. We know this reduces the cognitive, I think that's the word, capacity of brain. So we are exposing our children, and these things even pass through the womb to the unborn children, where the intelligence, I don't like using IQ because IQ is this thing, but the potential of intelligence has dropped 10%. So are we going to raise a generation of morons, of idiots, of mentally challenged, who are now going to be leading the country in 30 years' time? Or are we going to say that our current politicians were they exposed to Galamsey water when they are young? That they are behaving this way? Remember, water does not have political color. No political affiliation. Whether you're from here or from there, you drink that water. Unless you're importing water. Because we have Evian in Ghana. People drink, they don't drink Ghana water at all.
Water anymore,
They import water from France to drink. And those are the kingpins who are letting these people slave and die. I'm sorry.
Is what it is. So I wish we could have somebody from national security or the security agencies, because it appears the issue has fallen in front of their doorstep on the consistency and following through with actions, especially when they are told to go to a particular place to flash out these people. But let me go quickly to the MD of Ghana Water Company Limited. From what Mr. Pencil did in terms of his presentation, we are having to spend more to get water on our tables and all that. Dr. Brahima, if you can hear me, welcome to the Citi Galamsey dialogue.
Thank you very much.
How is it going? It appears that now you need to spend more to get us water. I know you're challenged in terms of finances already. How are you getting by?
It's not only the expenditure that is going high. The volume of water that we have to distribute is also getting limited. And so we are having problems all over. We can only manage and keep praying that one day Ghanaians will come agree that the damage and that we are not just living for today. We are not dying tomorrow. And for that matter, we live today and we have to live probably several years to come. And whatever that we do today that will affect the years to come, then we are just reducing our own lives indirectly without knowing. The cost is unbearable. We do not have the capacity like the BDCs are doing, where there's a change in costs, they push it onto the consumers. We do not have it. We have a third party that at one point will ask you to bring your statements, your proposals. They will review it and then decide to give you what they think the people can pay, what they think you also deserve to keep going. And this is something that is equally damaging.
We're having challenges getting a clear feed. Well, Doc, if you if you can position yourself properly, it appears the things from Galamsey want to block you before you get here. But if you can position yourself and go through your initial comments, I'll be very grateful. Well, Prof is saying attempt to switch your video so that we can get. I still can't get you clearly.
Yeah. So if I take off the.
So take off the video, so it will be much better. Yes, please do. We'll find a way around that. You can take off the video.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear. Great. Please go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. What I was saying is, we are not living for only today. We are not dying tomorrow. And if you have citizens whose only utility company depend on the raw water that the same people are destroying, then we are doing damage to ourselves. We do not have the capacity like the BDCs, where when there's a change in expenditure, you can easily put it on the consumer. We do not have that. We have a third party that decides how much they think the system can absorb. That is, the citizens can pay, and what we also require, in their opinion, to be able to keep going. And if we run this system this way, it means that we are shortening the life of our own water utilities. And so,
oh, Doc, you're going off again.
That we are doing. I have that. I think. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you went off again. You can take off from the part. You can take off from the part on what you are doing.
Yeah. So what we are now doing is to increase expenditure because, like my officer said, we are resorting to more expensive chemicals to be able to get to be able to reduce the process losses. If you go to Odaso, if we were not using the polyelectrolyte, we might not have been able to even get up to 30% of the water to send to Obuasi. But with the use of the polyelectrolyte, we are doing about 50%. And so at every time, you have to increase costs.
Right.
If you are using the aluminum sulfate, you will have to use, the more aluminum sulfate you put in your water, the more other chemicals that you put in to correct your pH level. So at all times, the costs continue to go very, very high. And I think that if PURC can allow us to pass on the cost to the citizens, yes, politically it might have some implications. But when people begin to see the cost, I'm sure we'll all go onto the rivers and directly get the people who are doing that damage away. If we don't take that seriously, I'm sure even our rivers will die. And I want us to go beyond just the Galamsey. Anything that produces our water, we should take it more seriously. I have been saying that when you go to Weja, it is not Galamsey. It is our own human activities. The cost of production has gone equally very high. My colleague from Ghana Water Company is talking of costs, but I will just use products for us to understand. Last year, we were using 200 bags of aluminum sulfate a day. This year, we are using 300 bags of aluminum sulfate. That is something at the Galamsey site. What it means is that Ghanaians on our own cannot protect our water bodies. And that is what has translated into the illegal mining, those who are mining in the rivers, because they do not see the need to protect that resource. And so I think that the Galamsey, yes, because it's clear that vividly, but there are other activities that are destroying our water, and we must expand the protection to all our water bodies, and that's why we have to call for the strengthening and resourcing of the Water Resource Commission, because they are supposed to protect the water bodies for us. But I don't think they are resourced enough. It's well resourced than Water Resource Commission. And these are resources that
Doc, your line is muffled again.
And I think that's because I'm using my data on food.
Okay.
If that's why it's, yes. And so we must resource Water Resources Commission. Probably we have to develop a funding model to be able.
Yeah. I think we've lost Doc there. We'll find a way to reconnect, and then, because I want to find out from him the worst case scenario if we don't take the action now. And also, of course, we know that the way it's going, we may have to pay more for water. And maybe we should let those in those regions that we see the issue happening pay more. Because I'm thinking, well, that's what I'm thinking. If I'm in the Greater Accra region and I'm not involved in Galamsey activities, of course, I have the Weja issue to deal with. But somebody in the Ashanti region watching these illegal miners do what they have to do, a chief sitting there selling the lands to them, not taking any action, they should be made to pay more for the water. That is my one city on that, but I could be wrong, you know, politically. But that's what I'm thinking. But let me take a few messages that have come in. This one says, good afternoon. We should ban Galamsey immediately. We should deport the foreigners, especially the Chinese who are messing us up. I don't think the Galamsey is profiting the country. This is Matilda from Tema. And then Kennedy says the Galamsey menace is akin to armed robbery that has taken us all as hostages. This problem can be stopped by the presidency if indeed there is a commitment. Then hashtag Stop Galamsey Now. This message says, from all intents and purposes, the love of money without prudence has led to this Galamsey challenge. No professionals are absent in Galamsey, but greedy businessmen and their accomplices. Actually, professionals are absent in this, but rather greedy businessmen and their accomplices. It is also a failure on government at all levels. Solution, he says, ban the business for now, create models of responsible mining and enforce the new standards. And also, government has the sole right through the agencies and the security to deal with this. This one says, good afternoon. It's time we stop massaging this illegal mining issue with excuses. When the government believed and wanted to sanitize the banking industry, we were not given any excuses, but the government went ahead. Were there no livelihood issues? Were there no powerful and rich people in the banking sector? Yet we were able to sanitize it. So nobody should say stopping Galamsey will cause livelihood issues, or there are powerful people behind it. It all depends on the political will. Our unborn children will curse us. This is from Obed Inho. So guys, how long would it take us to clear our water bodies if we should put a ban today?
The reason I'm laughing is, we have done similar research at the Institute for Environment. You see, cleaning the water, rain will wash out, and maybe within 5 years, if you do some realigning of the water courses and things, sediments will settle. But as I said, there's an abiotic and a biotic component. And as Bob said here, some of those systems are lost forever. The species are gone.
You're done.
It's dead. And unfortunately, when a system is dead and is recovering, you have what are known as opportunistic species that come in. It's like when you do a new road, all of a sudden you see hawkers, who know how to use the system. So when you're talking about restoration of a mining area, you're talking about 10, 15, 20 years. Tree cover, the responsible mining with the large-scale mines, they recover their tailing dams with plantations which are going to mature in 25 years. That is the sort of time period that you're thinking about. Yes, you may have clean water for Ghana Water Company, but how about the dragonflies which were consuming all the mosquitoes?
Yeah.
We
don't see them anymore.
Yeah, where are they going to live? And that is why you see the mosquito is very happy in that stagnant water. So they are breeding, and their natural predator is dead.
It's dead. Explains the increase in mosquitoes.
And then, of course, from mosquito, you go to malaria. You go to the fact that the child can't sleep at night, can't go to school awake. You see, everything is linked to everything else. And this is why I say we need to stop thinking that we can solve these things looking at the silo. You will have to look at the bigger picture. Why is it that, as the gentleman said, the banking sector, we managed to fix that, but we can't fix this thing? Are we afraid? Are we trying to say that our soldiers are outgunned by the people who are we saying our hunters in the village cannot trace people who are running? Is it the Chinese only people we can catch because their skin color is different? I mean, there are a whole lot of issues in this Galamsey thing that we are not looking at seriously. And if your solution, your suggestion is that people have to pay more at a area
where there's the activity happening,
where Ghana Water Company has to spend more, which you said may not be political. My suggestion is Ghana Water Company should fix how much they're prepared to spend on chemicals and forget their mandate to provide potable water. So if your 6 cedis will buy you 2 bags of alum, you use the 2 bags of alum and you get whatever comes out.
Then nobody will drink water in that region, because in cases, some of the cases it showed us, 10 times more. So
exactly.
Nobody
then
gets
you can't use the water. Then you decide whether you want to have your water coming through your tap. You have water that when you wash your white bed sheet, it will become dirtier than it was before.
So that's yes.
If you send them that kind of water, that would dirty their clothes. They will reject the water and start complaining all over. You start seeing the videos and the pictures on social media that this is the kind of water we are receiving.
But who calls them? You see, I think we need to now take decisive action on what we want to do and to be together in this. We're seeing regions where, like we all know, the chiefs are part of it, as in they know what is happening, they can't stop it. Fortunately, there's an example of a chief in Sheffield also who has said, you can't come and do this here. So now there's no excuse that, oh, I'm afraid the people have guns, whatever. And like Prof said, you don't have to be confrontational about it, but take smart decisions on how to just stop them. That's one. We all know that these regions, the areas where we see the Galamsey, there are people who are part of it. Now, if you are not getting the good water from Ghana Water Company Limited, we are all supporting you because there's nothing you can do. You don't have the money to do it. So it's what it is. Doctor, what can we do to clear the waters? Prof is saying we've messed it up. 20, 30 years, we are still in trouble. Dragonflies, all of them have gone. From your side, your assessment, what can we do to fast-track it to less than the 20, 30 years, if there's anything like that?
Okay, so there is no shortcut to this.
Exactly. No shortcut to heaven.
There's no shortcut to it. The main issue has to do with how much we can invest to reclaim the lands. That is the starting point. Most of the rivers have been diverted and they've lost their courses. We need to regenerate these rivers. The investment requirement for that alone will have significant burden on the state. And how quick we recover, in terms of the water resources, depends on how much we invest on recovering the land. Land and water is connected. You can't clean a river when your land is dirty. So,
do you have an idea of figures, in terms of figures?
In terms of money, no, but I think it is going to be very huge. It will take a very long time for this country to be able to, apply in that kind of investment into the system. Because we have to cover all this, I call them robbery pits. And then we have to grow grasses. We have to stabilize the river banks. We have to recreate the rivers. And even that, we are going to have chemicals that will stay in the sediments for a very long time. We may probably get as close clean water to Ghana Water Company in the next 10 years.
The next 10 years.
If we are able to, to invest that amount of money. But for a very long time, we will have chemicals in the soil. We will not be able to recover some of the fishes that probably we had in the rivers. So I don't think we can get back to where we were. We can get close, and even that requires quite a lot of investments.
Right. What is the worst case scenario we will see in the next 6 months if we don't stop this now? You've said 100% in some areas polluted, 60 some. What's the worst case scenario with regards to our water security as a country in the next 6 months?
The immediate one will be that probably we will not get treated water from Ghana Water Company. They will have to shut down. The long term is that most of their equipments will be destroyed forever, and they have to bring in. So it goes back to the investments. But apart from just us getting water to drink, agriculture is affected already. We are going to have food security issues, not just water security. Economic growth will suffer. We are already in a system where we are struggling to see how best we can come out of this. So it is a complete system.
Right.
Livelihoods will suffer as well.
Okay. I'll come to you, Mr. Pinson, and then Dr. Adra, but Dr. Clifford Brymer is back on the line. I want to throw to him what you said, that they may have to shut down in the next 6 months if we don't deal with this issue, and we may not get water at all. Doc, if you can hear me, what are your thoughts of you likely to lose your job in the next 6 months if we don't stop this illegal mining thing now, and the fact that you'll not be able to provide me and the millions of Ghanaians across the country with water?
It is not Ghana Water Company that is going to shut down. is the system that is going to shut down. Because our systems are not meant for wastewater. They are meant for fresh water. And if you decide to use your freshwater impellers to pull wastewater, you will crash them. If you replace them, you will crash them. So at the end of it, you will just have to produce it because you cannot produce. So it's not Ghana Water Company that is going to shut. But the raw water that we will use will shut our system. So it's the other way around.
Okay.
And that's why we all have to take the issue seriously that we are taking them now.
What would you say authorities must do now, moving forward, to solve the problem from your side as your closing remarks?
We keep saying that the people who are supposed to protect our water bodies for us or police the water bodies are the Water Resource Commission. This commission is not resourced properly. You know, from history, the water sector has not gained that huge political attention that it deserves recently. And so Water Resources itself is still fighting to get out of those historical attitudes of the previous systems. If you source Water Resources Commission properly, I'm sure they will be able to protect the water resources for us. Because as of now, Minerals Commission is the one that gives licenses for people to go and mine. And those who mine, most of them are those who are polluting our water. Why don't we also find another way? And so we should develop a funding system such that the people who are in the system have some taxes or levies that they pay, and that amount of money is used to resource water resources. So that they will also be on site. That, yes, you have this license to do this, but your license will end where our water resources begin. Because the water resources is also another resource of the nation. Without it, the life cannot come on. And if we resource water resources properly, and I'm sure we should be able to protect our water bodies. Because when you go to Tamale, it's not Galamsey. The Nawani River is being polluted by sign wheelers. And so the Minerals Commission might not have attention there because what the people are taking of are the lands they have provided. But water resources will have a global view of whatever is happening around our water bodies. Every river is supposed to have a buffer of 100 meters or so. I'm sure the water resource officer can go. Do we still have the 100-meter buffer for them? You go up north where we do not have regular flow rains. Farmers follow the restriction of the water. As the river is receding, they follow and farm. And so they loosen the soils. When the rains begin, then the loose soils are washed into the river. And so we keep on silting those rivers. So if water resources was empowered, they will monitor all this and make sure that our rivers are protected properly. As of now, nobody is protecting our rivers because water resources do not even have the capacity. They don't have the resources to do that. When we engage the military in Tamale to help Northern region, we have to provide them a vehicle so that anytime there's something that we want them to go and do, they use the vehicle. I don't think water resources is in the position to do all those things. And so we must take all this together. Yes, mineral, those mining, the minerals have more money, they bring in more money to the individuals than the water will do. And so why don't we levy the one who is generating more and creating the problem to help the one who is getting less, but he's supposed to protect the system? And so if you begin to look at some of these funding models, we will be able to achieve a bigger result. But I'm happy that the traditional authorities are coming on board. His Excellency the President has gotten them to come on board because the people who do it live in those communities. The people who do the Galamsey live in the communities. And they know them. They know them. 2018, I made a suggestion at Well Water Forum, Well Water Day at Wigan. The military, in the way of defending, came out ballistics, as if I was condemning the way they were doing. It generated to a heat such that His Excellency the President had to call me. And when I went to explain that I was just coming from Bonsa, and Bonsa, we were using 5 bags of aluminum sulfate a day. But when the Galamsey moved, we were then using 12 bags a day. Wow. What it meant was that the stability had gone up. When the Galamsey stop, or what they call it, in 2018, 2017 came, there was a drop. And so we're now using about 8 bags of aluminum sulfate per day. What it meant was that there was improvement. But at the time I had gone, it was moving from 8 to 10. You don't need rocket science to say that the stability levels were coming up. And I had engagement with the assemblyman there. He advised that if we engage them, they will be able to stop this. And so I made it a public check. But the military felt we were saying that they were not doing their work. And so I would want to urge that all of us, nobody is finding fault with anybody. All of us want a solution. And we must do this all together. I am at the receiving end. Ghana Water Company is at the receiving end. When the water is polluted, we will be able to tell whether the water is polluted or not polluted, because we will either use more chemicals or less chemicals.
Right.
And so we should be those telling the story properly.
Right. Thank you very much. Dr. Clifford Brymer is the Managing Director of the Ghana Water Company Limited. He's given us some of the things we need to do to solve the problem. Of course, like we said from the beginning, take the action and go by it. I'm seeing quite a number of messages coming to us via Twitter and Facebook, and comments and questions as well. I'll try as much as possible to read every one of them. Dr. Adra, you may have to prepare for this question. This gentleman, Autry Thomas, says, thank you, Citi, for this fantastic work on water security. Please, wells can be dug in households, but how can we treat these wells against mercury, and what are the process of using moringa seed, coconut and maize husks to treat these chemicals? I'm sure he's gleaning from your research.
Okay, thank you. Can I go ahead
and
respond? Okay, so with the moringa seeds, basically, all you would have is to just wash them, dry them, crush them, and then you add it to the water, and then you make sure it has some contact time. With the research we did, we used about 30 minutes contact time using the orbital shaker, but by just shaking it, you can actually do it for just 3 minutes. Okay, and then you allow it to sit for a while. And basically, with the moringa seeds, it's able to take out, for lead, as I said, it takes out about 100%. For arsenic, about 70%, and for iron, about 99%. Yeah. So.
Well, we may need you to work on the mercury bit, because a lot of people are interested in that part as well. Okay. So, well, how do you get to your funding, though? To take care of your research?
What has been done so far was self-funded. So going forward, we are hoping we can get
maybe
more
Prof can connect you to some funding agencies to help you with that. Yeah. Okay. This next person, #Galamsey now, says, if we are not honest with ourselves, we cannot expect the people to be honest with us. What is the truth concerning the excavators that were seized, burnt, or stolen? We don't even know the truth with that. This one says, #ban Galamsey now. Like Prof said, it's a mindset problem. Can we in any way make the youth who are heavily involved in this act and the level of distraction we are doing to our motherland? So this is from Evelyn's son. That's the name you go by on Twitter. So some interesting comments coming in there. I have a lovely audience here, and I'm going to invite some of them to make a few comments or so. So if Madam Bridget of the PVP is ready, and if our microphones are ready, we'll take that in the bit. But while we're doing that, let me come to you, Mr. Pencil. Your boss is rather worried and has painted the picture of the seriousness of the thing, and of course the challenges the Water Resources Commission is going through in getting the problem solved. You are being on the ground and all that. From where you sit, I keep asking this question, that in the next 6 months, what do you expect to see? Because I want people to have an idea of how dire the situation is and what we are likely to see by June next year. What is the worst you've seen with regards to this Galamsey issue and its threats on our water security?
So far, the worst case scenario is we getting to the point of completely suspending the operations of some of the plants. So like we have experienced them at Osino, Bunsu, and then Chebi, as I mentioned earlier. In 6 months' time, if the situation does not improve and continues to go the way it is going, then it means that we may move from the intermittent shutdowns that we are doing to completely shutting the systems down.
Yeah. Okay. This question comes...
Can I add
yes,
something?
Prof, you can.
Yeah, the issue that we forget is that we are now moving towards the dry season.
Yes.
So we are not going to have that influx of rainfall, which is even diluting the mud.
Yeah.
I'll call it mud. So the likelihood of the plants shutting down is far more likely to have the plants shut down in the next 6 months than for them to operate. Even the Volta ones, Peve and so forth, may have problems because they're also receiving Galamsey, and we are focused on the sediment, but it's not what you see which is the main problem. It's what you cannot see with the naked eye. And the cost, you talked about the cost of treatment. You haven't even looked at the cost of analysis of the water to know how much you should treat. Analyze nitric acid. It's through the roof now. Yeah. You see, unfortunately, I think you import all your water treatment chemicals. Sure. And by the way, the cost of rehabilitation in Western region, 11 districts, was estimated at 250 million in 2016.
250 million cities.
For 11 districts in the Western region in 2016.
And we're in 2022.
And that was before the Galamsey sort of went out of control. So I'll say, take that 250 million and multiply by 4.
We're in trouble. Okay. Audrey Thomas says, how long does mercury stay in water and in the land? Do we have an idea?
It stays for
forever. So if it gets in, that's it.
Forever.
I think that should get us
And we
thinking.
also have this process of bioaccumulation. So you may have a small quantity, and as time goes, it gets more and more because it accumulates in your body, and then you can end up with many matter disease. Your nerves, your whole body will come twisted. It's not a pleasant thing.
It's not.
No.
Okay. This from Master Paul says, the greatest service you can offer your nation is to protect the lives of the younger generation. Galamsey is a threat to both present and future generations. Keep up the good work, he says. So if our microphones are ready, then we take a few more questions from here. Well, this one says, I think I've read this already on the how long it stays in the land in terms of the mercury. If we can move to the next message. We've read this already. If we can move to the next message as well. Okay. This one from Napoleon says, I love my morning and evening alone at Senchi Riverside. Imagine this great river Volta, beautiful and clear, turns muddy overnight. Never. Hashtag ban Galamsey now. Citi 97.3. Young Fred says, hashtag ban Galamsey now. This is the shore of Shamar, where River Pra meets the sea. So this is how bad it's become. If you can see the picture, it looks like a chocolate drink. That's what it is. So the microphones are ready now. Let me bring in Madame Bridget of the PPP.
I'm here as a friend of Citi FM.
Okay.
or Citi. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And Thank you very much, Citi, for embarking on this fight again. I found that all the speakers were dancing around the issue of laying blame, well, or making it somebody's responsibility. We cannot hide from the fact that the politicians are involved. Our leaders are involved. It's there. I think somebody sent in a message to say they should explain to us what happened to the excavators. But apart from that, and I wish that you had invited the CSOs, CDD did a research, a study, and a lot of the campaign financing, particularly of the two major parties, comes from Galamsey. It was there, illicit financing. It's the truth. The CDD report shows it. And why are we dancing around the issue? It's the truth. Unfortunately, we have placed value or worth or wealth. We've made it more important than any other kind of wealth. So wealth and riches are now more important or more valuable than our own health, than our own natural resources, than our own people. And we don't realize that that is also money, or that is also some kind of wealth. And we, sadly, is gone too far. But we must hold our politicians responsible. I will say, God help me, that one of the fora of this CDD, somebody said to me that my party will remain where it is if we also don't do what we are doing. Not in as many words, but what they said was, well, if your opponents are doing it and you are not doing it, then you lose out. So I said, well, you can't blame someone for your bad behavior. And then he said, well, if you won't do it, your party will remain where it is. So this is where we are. I know someone who went to, everybody is complicit. I know someone who sat at a certain hotel and actually listened in on a conversation of someone who had, I didn't even know there was anything like that called a Guta phone. And the Guta phone is supposed to be for the security services. And he was discussing openly with a Chinese man how they could get him land for Galamsey. Wow. This person was eavesdropping, but the person sends the information to me. I'm not in a position to do much, but I'm speaking about it here. You'll be fine. But our leaders are very much involved. This is how we are getting funding to fund our campaigns. It must come from, we must start from there. Secondly, I mean, it's obvious. When you go and talk to the youth, they say, we need work, we have to eat. I mean, I'm sure that there are alternative ways in which they can get food to eat. But there's a lot of greed also going on. Yep. But it's hard work they do. And cannot this hard work be channeled into other ways? Why do we have people? It's the same thing they are doing, building roads. Why can't we channel this energy into road building? Yet we get contracts, foreign companies are working on our roads, and they bring in their foreign people to come and do some of the work that our guys can do. And they are stuck in the polluting our waters. So let's not, yes, Professor Gordon, I heard you say the chiefs, but it's not only the chiefs.
No, no, it's not only the chiefs.
It starts from much higher up. Yeah. And if we don't know it, this is how some of our campaigns was the PPP. This is some all right. Some campaigns are being funded, and we should pay attention to that.
Thank you very much, Madam Bridget.
Can I respond?
You can respond quickly, and then we'll take your closing comments from all. So respond and your closing comments.
Okay. First of all, I disagree that chiefs are below anybody in this country. Politicians are elected by who? By the people. So, by your logic, it is the people who are to blame
for electing those politicians. The other aspect, and I'll end here, is that by our 1992 Constitution, all lands are vested in the president. And if you look at all our presidents since that Constitution, I'm also speaking at risk. I do not see any of our presidents who has truly had the political will to put Ghana, its lands, first 4 generations to come. Because our political cycle is 4 years. And these ecological processes take decades. Why should I create a situation where I put my party out of power because of insisting on the right thing to be done? Yeah. It doesn't make political sense. And if you continue to insist on the right thing to be done for the sake of Ghana, you remain wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Adra, 30 seconds, your final thoughts.
Thank you. I'd like to say that, firstly, looking at the issues related to Galamsey, okay, as Prof said, we are not, dealing with small-scale mining anymore. Small-scale mining, we are looking at using basic tools, right? Now we are dealing with excavators, chamfer machines. So this is something that needs to be dealt with head-on. And then secondly, I want to say that, you see, as someone mentioned, it looks as if we tend to play the blame game, right? I believe that as Ghanaians, we all have to take responsibility, and we have to play the role that we need to play. When I think about these issues, one thing I realize is that most of us are not patriotic. That is why it looks as if we are not thinking about our country and future generations. So it's important for us to, this patriotism thing, we need to find a way to bring it back. Several years back, I think we saw this anytime Ghana played football and all that. But it's something that is missing from Ghana. And I think it's something we need to work with, as well as a change in our mentality. Okay, so someone thinks about what he would get and the impact it's going to make. Okay. So these are some of the things that I think we need to look at. And
thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.
For me, I think I have about 3 things to say. Okay. The first one, I want to...
Paris. the two of them. You have to remember.
No, they have to be honest. The issue is what it is. So 30 seconds, Mr. Pento.
Okay, so 3 things to say. Just the same way that the pastors went around to tour the Galamsey sites, I think I want to throw it to the House of Chiefs to also do a similar thing. In solid waste engineering, there's this thing called not in my backyard syndrome, where they don't usually allow landfill sites to be sited in their communities to handle solid waste management or solid waste issues. If our chiefs can also declare as custodians of the land that for Galamsey issues, not in my backyard, we'll go far. That's one. Number 2, I also want to say to the security agencies that, yes, they should not wait for the media land scale to come up with the issues before they do the swoops or go around. But they should have some periodic movements. Yeah, if maybe once in 3 months they go on site, check what is happening, it would be good. And I want to advise that they should not retain the same officers at the same place, because sometimes they become familiar with the people and they are easily not able to deal with the issues. But when they are moved around or rotated, it can help normalize the situation or address the situation that we are facing. Then to my colleague or senior colleague from Water Resources Commission, I think that the Pra Basin should be looked at again. If they can find a way to improve upon their management style for the Pra Basin, it will help us a lot. Thank you for now.
Okay. Doc, your final was 30 seconds.
It's a very complicated and dire issue. What I can say is that water is life, and for a country, we have to be able to protect our lives. All hands on deck. Citi is taking the lead and creating this platform for the dialogue. It has to go beyond the dialogue, and I think we all have to make that call We have to fight this together. It is no more Water Resource Commission, Ghana Water Company. It is the whole of Ghana. So I, make this call. Let's all put hands on deck and let's try to fight this. Our future is blank if we do not fight this today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bob Arthur from the Water Resources Commission, Professor Chris Gordon, an environmental toxicologist. We also had Dr. Adra Yerinchi Fiankun, and then, of course, we had Mr. Moses Abeku Pencil. We're joined by Zoom with Dr. Clifford Brymer, who's the MD of the Ghana Water Company Limited. And, of course, our viewers and listeners, you've also been fantastic. The hashtag is still Ban Galamsey Now. We're not leaving the conversation here at Citi FM and Citi TV. We're continuing till this is stopped, because as we have heard and seen, our water security as a country is under threat. So the conversation still continues till we stop this evil thing we're seeing around us. My name is Vivian Kai Loco. Thank you so much for joining me. And for now, it's goodbye from us from the Citi TV studios.